out and have that opportunity. So we have our lead veterinarian from the Arizona Humane Society's Trauma Hospital, Dr. Melissa Thompson, joining us today. AHS Field Operations Supervisor, Ruthie Jesus, and Operations Manager, Chris West. We also have Rob from our behavior team joining, Detective Krim from the Phoenix Police Department, and Dina is here from our behavior team as well. So again, at the end, save the questions, please, and then we'll head out so you can see more of the animals as well. We were hoping to have quite a few of the pets out here greeting you today, but test results have come back. We do have currently 5 dogs and 1 cat that have tested positive for ringworm. I always want to say ringworm, which is transmittable to humans. So just to take extra precautions, we decided not to do that today, but I do have photos that I can send you of the pets. But we do have some special guests that I'll talk about just in a little bit here that are from the initial seizure on January 22nd. First of all, I just wanted to give an overall update. In the initial 4-week investigation that the Arizona Humane Society began with the Phoenix Police Department, we took in 217 animals total in that 4 weeks. The majority were dogs and cats, 119 dogs, 88 cats, 3 rabbits, a rooster, and a fish. The investigation does remain ongoing at this time. 2 announcements before we get started. One, the Arizona Humane Society, we are having an adoption special today through Sunday at all 4 of our locations. We are adopting out adult dogs a year and older for a 50% off discount for their adoption fee. As you can imagine, our role in the Valley is caring for the sick, injured, and abused homeless animals. We do not have 200 kennels just waiting to be occupied here. These animals come in addition to the hundreds of animals we're already treating, so we do need to clear up some much needed space. Of those very special animals that need a home, Harriet over here, she is one. Harriet, you want to come over? Harriet is 10 years old. She is one of the first dogs seized from Planet Petopia on January 22nd. Oh, are we shy now? She's a sweetheart. We have fallen in love with her and many of the other pets. And she has some medical concerns. She has actually gained, she came in weighing 15 pounds, which I thought was a typo. It was not. Today she's nearly 40 pounds. But she does have a jaw condition, which is potentially from an old injury that was never properly treated. She also has some facial twitching, and we're not sure the cause of that. But her quality of life is considerably good. And what we're looking for is a family or individual that will take her in for whatever days that she has remaining and just give her the love and care she deserves. So we are waiving her adoption fee, knowing that she will likely have medical bills down the line potentially, but we're asking people to call our alternative placement department at 602-997-7585, extension 2156, and they will walk you through her behavior, her medical, but she is about as sweet as they come. So definitely a survival story in Harriet. So with that, I will now kind of introduce the team. Again, Detective Heather Krim with Phoenix Police will be available for questions after. And then Dr. Melissa Thompson, again, our lead veterinarian of our trauma hospital, is going to give a medical update on both the 52 pets initially seized and the 165 still in our care. Ruthie Jesus will talk about the status, those that have been reunited with owners, and then we will open it up for questions. So, Dr. Thompson?
Good afternoon. So I just wanted to give you guys a brief summary of what we saw with the initial seizure of the animals. We had 52 animals that initially came to us, and when our field department entered into Petopia, they actually brought to us the most critical of the animals at that point in time. In the first group of dogs, all of the dogs that came to us were positive for tick fever, and they did have significant changes in their blood work, various stages of anemia and loss of platelets, bleeding disorders. We did have to treat these animals with oral medications. They also required repeated blood work to see if we were making progress with these animals. The dogs were all in pretty poor body condition. They were very skinny, as she mentioned here with our little girl over here. She was only 15 pounds. The majority of these animals were severely underweight. They suffered from many open wounds and sores. Many of those sores were in areas over the bony prominences of the hips and the ankles, areas where they no longer had the little fatty protection that we normally see in pets, and then also from laying on the hard floor, it caused these areas to open up and ulcerate. So as you can imagine, very painful for these guys. Cats had various degrees of upper respiratory infection. We also had a few cats that came to us that were very underweight. They are doing well in foster homes currently. Of the original group of dogs, we did need to euthanize one on intake due to the severity of its medical condition. The dog's limbs were all swollen, it was unable to walk, and it was very lethargic. We found that the dog did have valley fever and tick fever, so very, very severe conditions. Another dog did have to be euthanized due to severe behavioral aggression. Two other dogs that we did have in treatment from the initial group did end up passing away despite our best efforts. We did give blood transfusion to these animals. They did have severe cases of tick fever that we just were not able to take care of. The second seizure, we had 80 dogs and 75 cats. All but 4 of the dogs have tested positive for E. canis or tick fever as well. So the same regimen is going on with these animals in doing the treatments on them. We will have to do follow-up blood work to make sure that the treatments have been efficacious for these animals. We have 8 animals that have tested positive for valley fever as well, and we are starting treatment at this time. Their overall body condition score has been much better on this group of animals. As I said previously, the initial more critical animals were taken on the first run. But as Bretta did mention, we did end up finding ringworm in 5 of the dogs and 1 of the cats. Due to having the ringworm, we are considering all of the animals as being exposed, given the living conditions that they had over there, and we are doing preventative measures with these animals, and we're having to give all of them lime sulfur get baths, which is very labor intensive. So all of our staff are currently giving baths to all of these dogs and cats, which, as you can imagine, is no small feat. The cats' conditions overall, their body conditions in this batch were much better again than the previous cats, and we really hope that we'll be able to get these guys out for adoption shortly.
Thank you. With that, I'll introduce Ruthie Jesus, the Field Operations Supervisor.
Hi everybody, my name is Ruthie Jesus. I'm the Field Operations Supervisor here at the Arizona Humane Society. I am also EAMT and Animal Cruelty Investigator. I was present at the scene for the initial 52 animals removed from the premises the early part of January. The first time that we went into the premises, as Dr. Thompson was advising you, we did remove the worst of the worst. They were in the most dire medical condition who needed absolute immediate medical attention. It was very severe. In addition to the fact that the kennels were in poor repair, animals didn't have bedding, were laying on concrete in their own urine and feces many times. Most of the animals removed were severely emaciated. They had open wounds. Many of them were actively bleeding when we removed them from their kennel. It was a very difficult seizure, to say the least. It took a huge number of staff at the Humane Society to be able to bring in all of those animals. And I can tell you that when we returned to remove all remaining living creatures from the premises a couple of weeks later, it took the entire staff at the Humane Society. We had members of every single department, from our maintenance team to our behavior staff, to our medical vet techs, our doctors. It took the better part of 14 hours to bring in everybody. To give you a little bit of an update where we're at now, from the first 52 that were initially removed from Planet Petopia, 9 animals have already been adopted out. 8 are currently in foster homes, including Remy here. He's currently in my home being treated for tick fever. He had gained back 15 pounds and 20% of his body weight. His fur is coming back in, open wounds have closed, and you can see he is learning lots of neat tricks from Rob over here. We did have 1 animal sent to a rescue organization. Unfortunately, because of the severity of these animals, we did lose a couple. It's very heart-wrenching for the teams involved. And we do currently have 29 of that initial 52 still being treated here at the Humane Society. That's aside from the next very large group, 3 times the size, that came in a couple of weeks later. So this new batch of animals that was recently removed from the premises, many of those animals were short-term boarders. They were folks that had dropped off their animal for a couple of days for a groom or a temporary board, people that were temporarily going on vacation or in the hospital. So of that group, we have returned 7 animals to their owners and their families. Myself and my manager, Chris West, has facilitated every one of those returns, and it has been very emotional. The folks that are coming to pick up their animals had no idea the conditions they were being housed in or kept in. They had no idea of the reputation or the risk. They were extremely distraught, and every reunion has been emotional. The animals super excited, the families crying. They are so happy and grateful to the Humane Society to be reunited with their pet. They have also all been advised that medical care may be ongoing. So we are working with them to provide them with up-to-date medical records so that they can follow up with their current vets. 7 doesn't seem like a very large number returned to owners. We still have, obviously, everybody else still here in the shelter. While the Arizona Humane Society's field operations team has won custody of the first 52 animals, the remaining animals are still on their seizure or confiscate protective custody hold until this coming Sunday. So we will be requesting from Phoenix Court for the release of the rest of the animals into our permanent care on Monday. At that time, as you might imagine, we're going to have a lot of animals flooding into our system, looking for foster homes, looking for adoptive homes, looking for, hopefully, what will be their final home to live out a happier life than they've been experienced so far. Let's see, I think that was everything on my list here. We have been working with Phoenix Police from the very beginning. The Arizona Humane Society's field operation team is contracted with the Phoenix Police Department, and we work very closely with them under the supervision and tutelage of our amazing animal crimes detectives who guide us every step of the way. We are not done. In addition to finding all of these animals' homes and completing their medical treatment, the field operations team will be writing their reports, collecting medical reports from a medical team, documenting new weights, body condition photos, video, Facebook research, you name it. We are accumulating a very large amount of information to pass along to our animal crimes detectives. So thank you very much for coming today and helping us get the word out.
And with that, guys, I do want to open it up for questions. If you have questions for either Ruthie or Dr. Thompson, they can go ahead and take those at this time. We'll just ask that you guys do come over by the microphones.
So how many total Catopia pets are actually adoptable today?
Currently, at the moment, we have 8 awaiting a foster home, meaning they still need treatment. And I believe at the moment, the 29 that are still being treated have not been released to the adoption floor yet. So basically what that means is that while we will put an animal up for adoption with a medical release, if you will, meaning this animal is being treated, for example, for tick fever, will require follow-up from your vet, they do have to be in a stable enough condition in order to be put up in that fashion. So we are making sure that the blood work has been double-checked and they've had their follow-up visits with the vet to make sure that they are healthy enough for that point. So I don't have the exact number on the adoption floor right now, but I actually think that everybody that was on the adoption floor has already been adopted. So they're going to be trickling in larger and larger numbers.
So right now, no one's available for adoption?
To my knowledge, not at the moment. We're
Besides
seeing foster homes and treatment. Right. This Harriet is
Dave's really for him.
Harriet is available for adoption.
One question that a lot of people are asking us is, you mentioned some of the dogs were boarded by private people there. Were a majority of the dogs dumped there by rescues in town?
So the investigation is ongoing. We can't necessarily discuss suspects or who might be involved, but I can tell you that large numbers of animals were boarded by the same individuals.
Is that person going to be held accountable?
I can't comment to that either, I'm afraid. But that is the purpose of all of this information. So when we say the case is ongoing, all that information that I told you we're compiling, our detectives can't proceed until the next step until we're able to provide that. So the medical piece is a huge part of that.
Are you able to confirm if that is Hato?
I am not able to confirm. I'm sorry.
I believe that that's been tracked back to the Humane Society.
I can tell you that we have had pets, as is true in the rescue community, that were adopted out, and at some point, potentially something changed, they got lost, and they may have circled back. Many of the animals in our care were microchipped.
So I know a lot of these animals ended up at different locations in the but how are you guys keeping these sick dogs from getting other dogs sick?
That's an excellent question. So thanks to Dr. Thompson, and she may have some comments as well. When we do a large seizure like this, we take the safety and protective nature of the case very seriously, as well as their medical condition. So that does change on a day-to-day basis. Like Brenda had said earlier, we initially thought we'd have a bunch of animals to bring out, but as we're getting test results back, we take that quarantine pretty seriously as well.
Quarantine means you keep the dogs in the taxi separate.
Yes, at this moment in time, the animals that did come from the seizure are kept completely separate and isolated from the animals that are both up for adoption and other animals that have come into our facility and are going through medical and behavioral examinations.
How serious are their diseases? Could they have died from the tick fever or the other diseases that you?
Most definitely, if left untreated, tick fever can be fatal, valley fever can be fatal. And as I mentioned previously, 2 of the animals, despite us giving everything that we had, blood transfusions, critical care, they did end up passing away. So it is definitely a fatal disease.
I have one question in terms of when we were at the rescue, it seemed like a lot of the dogs were, very barking ferociously and whatnot. What are they like behavior-wise? Was it difficult to get them out? I mean, this one looks pretty shy and nervous. What are the dogs like personality-wise right now? Are they depressed? Are they...
So one of the interesting things about being in that particular kennel environment was that the noise was deafening. Myself and my manager, Chris West, were walking through trying to find the worst cases, notating everybody's current condition, and we were shoulder to shoulder and screaming at each other. The noise was very, very loud. They were exhibiting all the signs of what you would consider to be kennel stress or kennel frustration, in addition to their medical issues that were going untreated. The first night that we brought back those 52 animals, it was quiet. You walked through the kennel at the end of the night and it was totally quiet. All of the dogs were asleep, they had full bellies, their dishes were empty, and they were curled up on their beds. Since then, this horde is unique because oftentimes with an individual, for example, one person in a home environment that may have been overwhelmed and have 75 to 100 or 200 plus animals on their property, the animals are suffering from severe, oftentimes, lack of socialization. They haven't had the socialization they needed. The majority of the animals that were being boarded or kenneled at Planet Utopia came from a home environment. So these animals, the vast majority of them, are very friendly. They know what to do. Remy knows how to sit. He's cat friendly. He's good with children. Many of the animals have been house trained. They've gotten used to going to the bathroom in a kennel because they had no other option, but you'd be surprised at how much information a lot of them know. They are a huge volume of work for our behavior team because now that they're in this environment, they want a lot of attention. So that means as often as we can, kennel enrichment, toys, treats. They get their dinner and a puzzle toy, and they're getting as much exercise as quarantine will allow.
We saw you guys coming in and out of that place with animals in your hands. Describe the smell in there, just what it was like in there.
It was dark. I think the first thing that you notice in a place like that is it was dark and it was very enclosed. It did have a high level of ammonia smell. You could certainly smell the ammonia and feces. And again, the noise is what stands out the most, was deafening. Most of the dogs, while fearful, some of them had to be restrained by field officers, some of them had to be removed on a catch pole or with a muzzle wrap. Many of them had to be carried. The vast majority of them, when they got outside of the building wagged. They wagged their tails, they wiggled. When they got down here to South Mountain, a lot of them were able to be removed more easily from the vehicle. So their behavior has certainly progressed. When I brought him home as a foster the first 2 nights, he slept, he barely did anything, and since then he is up and playing and moving and wanting attention. So they're definitely coming along behaviorally.
Where we see this case has touched each one of you up there, and in your careers, I mean, how does what you see or what you saw compare to, I guess, other cases? Was this one of the worst? Or you were?
I've been with the Humane Society now over 6 years and on the field operations team for 5. I'm very sorry to say that we do a lot of hoarding type cases. We do a lot of mass impounds. We're present for a lot of very gruesome scenes. But for myself, after that first night, it was very emotional. It was very tough for me. I think it's probably one of the worst medical type situations that I've ever seen, where every single animal we were removing was in dire need of medical treatment. And that certainly makes an impact.
I think I'll have to echo pretty much what Ruth said. I've been with the organization for about 6.5 years, and this case has really hit home pretty much the medical conditions, knowing that these things were treatable. They were things that if they were just given treatment at an earlier point in time, we could have saved those that have perished. And the fact that these animals suffered that way. All the wounds they suffered were because they were emaciated. They were laying on hard surfaces. This isn't something that was a catastrophic problem, a disease that hit them. It was neglect, and I think that's what really hit you hard.
So you saw these dogs at their worst, and now you're seeing them sort of slowly coming back to life, so to speak. I mean, just when you guys saved these animals, has that hit you?
After the first 12 days that our first 52 animals had been with us, myself and a team of emergency animal medical technicians went through and we were doing follow-up weights and photos. I will admit that my expectations were not that high. Given the condition that they came in, I was not anticipating to see a lot that after 12 days would be showing significant difference. I was very happy to be wrong. As we were weighing the dogs, pulling them out of their kennels, they had already been bathed, some of them more than once. They'd been on a feeding schedule, they'd had medication, the proper medication and treatments. The vast majority of the dogs that we were weighing, only 12 days after bringing them into the shelter, had gained more than 20% of their body weight, which is unbelievable in that period of time. So I was very pleasantly surprised.
Heather, are you able to comment? I mean, you've seen a lot of bad things. Just personally for you, if you don't mind stepping up there, what has this been like for you, being in this environment, seeing all of this? And you were crucial in this investigation.
I was, and there's very little that I can talk about, but it probably was up there with one of the worst that I've seen. It's was as well as Ruthie on our minds every night, and it's great that this is the first time that I'm meeting these dogs. So it's fantastic to look at them today and see how well they're doing.
It's been emotional for you too?
Yes. Yes, I would say I've lost sleep over it as well.
Any other questions? You guys are good? All right. So with that, if you guys, I think we'll take both little Harriet and Remy outside. There's some grass. It's always nice to see a rescued animal in grass. So they will be outside, and then we'll direct you guys. Like I said, both cats and dogs are available to see. So we'll put you guys out that way, and just let us know along the way if you do have any other questions. Everyone up here will remain available for additional questions. So we'll head outside when you guys are ready.
Oh, okay. Can I show that? Hey, Remy.
Got the grass bed. Oh, yeah. harness.
I've never had to before. I've used the Easy Lock one, but oh, and it's cold in here. Out here, I should have grabbed it.
Putting on the kennel. Mine doesn't either. Bretta, probably.
Do you have a key?
Nope. Maybe if you go around the back way, that should be. Let's say hi to Remy. Hi, Remy. Hi. Do you have some food? I don't know. Where's Harriet? Brad's trying to get in there to open the kennel because it's locked. She's allowed to.
Just being outside.
She's only doubled her weight in the past month. She can do whatever she wants.
She says, I'm exploring, sniffing.
I cannot believe that 15 pounds.
I know.
We seriously, Freda was calling everybody. He's like, is this a mistake?
Smell good in there?
Harriet.
Come on, pretty girl.
So is that the bubblegum thing? I think I read a note about bubblegum with her like kind of twitching her jaw a
I
little
don't
bit.
really know what that's.
I figured maybe that's just a phrase that everybody else knew.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't.
personally don't know that term.
Okay.
It might be more of a medical thing, you know.
That
Whoa.
makes sense.
Careful there. Watch your eyes, girl.
Can you open the kennels? Can you open the kennels? Yeah. Remy. It's like posing. Okay. Can I go around now? Looks like they're all inside. Oh! Here's one. I know, I'm right here. There you go. Squish.
No.
Let me see if I can get some more.
Okay. I was just trying not to.
No, you're okay. Go ahead. Hi, kitties. And some good food. Hi. Wish I could pet you. He's just talking. Yeah. I want to pet them so bad. I know. I know, we just can't pet you yet. Hi. Big teeth. Let's see those teeth. Say something. Say hi. Say hi. God, this candy is massive. Oh. You just see eyeballs poking out. They're all really friendly too. That's good. Ooh, kittens. I just want to like reach you too.
It's been about 40 minutes. You see the big piece coming down during the conference. Love.